First, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So again, bear with me as I mumble through the right to know checklist. So it's becoming a tradition that I can't wait to get over with when we go back in person. In accordance with the Governor's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, the Goffstown Economic Development Committee will utilize the emergency meeting provisions of RSA 91A to conduct meetings through electronic means while preserving, to the extent feasible, the public's right to notice of such meetings and ability to observe and listen contemporaneously. Can I just ask you all to mute your microphones just because I'm hearing the same thing I'm saying? Thank you. Problems with the public access meeting by telephone call 603-766-JOIN 5646, participation code 785-645 #. Problems with access. Residents experiencing problems with access during the meeting are asked to call 603-384-3624. Access watch the meeting live on Goffstown Television Channel 22 or on GTV Facebook page at www.facebook.com/GoffstownTV. Facebook will not be monitored for public participation during public comment. Residents interested in participating in public comment should call the public access telephone number. And then I'm going to read the right to know checklist. As chair of the Economic Development Council Committee, due to the COVID-19 outbreak and in accordance with the government's emergency order number 12, pursuant to emergency order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant of government's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing public access to a meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. The county is utilizing WebEx platform for the electronic meeting. The public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in the meeting through dialing the following telephone numbers: 603-766-JOIN 5646 and using the participant code 785-645, followed by the pound or hashtag. B, providing public notice to the necessary information for accessing the meeting. The town previously gave notice to the public on how to access a meeting while available telephone number with a posted agenda, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are any problems with access. If there has a problem with telephone access, please call 603-384-3624. And during the meeting, if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a call of attendance. With each member states their presence. Also, please state whether there's anyone in the room during this meeting, which is required under right to know law. Okay. Start off with Joanne.
Hi, everyone. We have 4 visitors with us tonight. We have Fire Chief Brian Allard, who's here to discuss the fee schedule for the fire department. We have Dr. Tracy Hutton, who is the new executive director of the Goffstown Main Street program, and she is also on the same line as Ellen Vermakowitz, so they're there together at the Main Street office. We have Jeremy Jones, who expressed interest in becoming an EDC member. And we also have Charles Birchmeyer, who is also a potential EDC member and expressed interest. We do have openings for both of these people. I just asked them to come in and introduce themselves because we will need to make a recommendation to the select board for the final appointment.
Okay. Thank you. And are you in the room alone, Joanne?
Actually, there's something funky going on with can everybody hear that tapping?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me mute everyone and see if that helps. Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So if you need to speak, just unmute yourself and then we can figure out where the noise is coming from.
Okay.
I'm sorry. you were taking attendance and I jumped ahead.
That's okay.
I'm Joanne
You're
Duffy.
very ambitious.
I know you want to get this meeting over quickly. I'm Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director, and my daughter is working behind me, but I don't think she can be seen.
Bonnie?
Hi, I'm Bonnie Gavin, and I'm well, what would you call me? Vice
Vice
chair,
chair.
I
Vice
guess.
chair.
Okay, vice chair.
Gail?
Gail LeBrecq, recording secretary.
Chet?
Chet Bowen, Select Board Rep, and I am the only one in the room behind, there's election coverage behind me, but that's about it.
All right. And Ellen?
Sounds like it's coming from Ellen.
Yeah. Can't hear anything coming from Ellen.
Morse code.
I think the Morse code is, yes, they're there. Do you mind just reading them?
I meant to tell you my cat's in the room. Sorry.
Oh. Mark?
Mark Stevens, alternate member. I am the only one in the room.
All right. And I am Greg Rodriguez, chair of the EDC, and I am. So let's start it off with Chief Allard about fee schedules.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Well, how are you?
Good. So I'm Brian Allard. I know I haven't met everyone. I have the pleasure of serving as our fire chief for Goffstown. First of all, I just wanted to thank everyone on this committee. This is a really important committee for our community. And thank you for all that you do and being on this committee. It's super important. I know at your last meeting, there was some discussion with regards to how do we better serve our contractors and customers of the town. So I had some conversation with Joanne, and we actually found where some of our fee schedule wasn't easy to be located, and we made some changes to that. So within the fire department, we actually have a life safety permit fee schedule that was online. It's a fillable form, super easy for our contractors to get through. But the other half of that were our schedule fees that the board approves once a year that were difficult, to be honest, to find. So we actually made a PDF and put them right next to the life safety code. So Joanne, thanks for pointing that out. It was super helpful, and we certainly want to be customer service friendly. We actually have hours each day where the public can come in and ask the fire department questions. Our fire prevention officers there in the office certain times every single day. So the public's welcome to come in. And earlier this year, we actually changed our kind of a mission statement. It was really long that no one could ever remember, and it's really simplified now. We're just doing what's right for the public and our contractors. And really, really simple. It's all customer service based. I wanted to certainly get that message out to this committee and the public to let them know that we are here to help. And if there's anything we can do to improve our contractors' level of service, please let us know. And business owners, as they come in, send them in our direction, give them my name. Certainly more than happy to meet with them.
Thank you very much. I know one of our big initiatives, at least big for this committee, is making things a little more easier for like a one-stop shop. And I think for potential businesses, and if we can work in conjunction with departments like yours to make this easier process for people to get approved with businesses and to move in, I think any way we can do it better. So we're looking to have more of a social media presence, and a few clicks away, as opposed to really trying to find even fee schedules and a punch list of what to do to actually start a business. So I mean, that's one of our bigger initiatives that we really want to do.
Yeah, if I remember, I think somebody may have brought up the idea of a checklist.
Yeah.
And that might be something really good. And all of our fee schedules could be right in there for somebody, and then come in the door and here you go. I thought that was a great idea, whoever came up with it. Anything, we're here to help, so feel
Yeah.
free, anyone here, reach out to us anytime you want.
Excellent.
I have a question. Can I raise my hand?
Yeah, I was about to ask. I was just about to open the floor for questions.
Thank you. Anyway, Chief, I just wonder, we have a lot of old buildings in Goffstown, a lot of old ones. And I know that they're probably not built to code today. So how do we serve our people in the community to help them, especially now during the pandemic, if they want to lease part of their space or but yet it's not up to the codes because they were built, a long time ago. How do we help them?
Sure, thank you for the question. And this question comes up all the time. And where it's hard is, it's not hard. If they reach out to the fire department, and a lot of times Joanne will kind of facilitate meetings with us and the business owners, and they can kind of give us an idea of what they want to do with their space that they have. And we'll provide them what the current life safety codes are. So in Goffstown, it gets kind of confusing. We don't have any set codes. We adopt the state fire codes, and we help implement those in town. So we're kind of the middle person, and we have some experts internally at the fire department to help facilitate those code and how people can navigate through making something work in their space. So the best thing they can do is early on in the project, contact us. A lot of times we find out after the fact, and then when we go to try to help people make things right, it's very expensive. So if they can contact us early, we can help navigate them through those costs.
So what happens if they can't bring it to the codes? I mean, but the building's existing and there's a lot of space. I mean, what happens? Does the fire department help them with some alternative kinds of things to do?
Yeah, we're always here to help find solutions. And we can certainly bring in the fire marshal's office as another resource to try to help guide them through.
Yep. Mr. Chair? Thank you. So one of the things that I had actually spoken with the chief about is what role can we play in situations like that as far as being resourceful, because one of the things that we cannot put onto the fire department is a responsibility to provide alternative methods for folks to meet the fire code. All we can really ask of them is to tell them the absolute facts of the situation, what is true. And so what I hope we can do as a team, and Chief, I don't want to speak out of turn here, so keep me honest, but during our conversation, the chief is more than willing to talk with us as a committee about developing a list of ways that someone can take an old building and make it up to code with economic considerations in mind. But unfortunately, and this is super unfortunate, and we all feel bad about this. Sometimes it comes down to, and I hate this saying as much as everybody else does, but it is what it is, and eventually it's there. But as a committee, maybe one of our goals going forward is to be helpful to those businesses that are really facing some troubles economically, but also have that, because Bonnie, you're correct. There's a number of buildings that are zoned sort of either commercial, residential, or even just commercial that have code issues, and when they ask, it becomes a problem. So maybe we can work together, Chief, and we on our end we can work on some alternative ways. Not alternative is the wrong word, but a number of options to help a building get to code that might be financially more feasible, so that they can then build the revenue and then make some better get more up to code with something more permanent a couple years later. Is that something, Chief? Am I speaking out of turn, or is that something you'd be willing to come on and talk to us about?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing, Bonnie, I would mention is every single building is different. So they may have different codes. So it's hard. It's not a one size fits all. So, but great question. Any other questions?
If I could just follow up with the discussion you were just having. I think where we find this to be the most difficult is where we have commercial buildings in town that are looking to, sorry, I'm just plugging my mic in. Okay, we have.
Joanne, I think you should, yes, not put the mic.
I think we have to mute. There we go.
Okay. We have certain commercial buildings in town that are very old, and because of the economy and the way things are right now, they find that it would be more beneficial financially to convert some of their space to residential so that it would be a mixed use building. And then when they find out they need to add a sprinkler system, which sometimes is impossible to do on an older building or cost prohibitive. That's where we run into some disappointed property owners because it's just sort of out of their realm of being able to do that.
Joanne brings up a great point. In kind of anytime you have a mixed use, so if you have residential and commercial, there has to be a certain fire barrier between those two businesses and a residential building, or as Joanne just said, sprinklers, and that gets very costly. I see somebody raising.
Ellen?
Chief, is there any such thing, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, can I ask another question?
Yeah, I think Ellen was, Ellen raised her hand.
Sorry, Ellen, okay, oh, no, I hear the clicking, okay.
Ellen, we can't hear out of your microphone. Can't hear anything.
She's not muted.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they may have a microphone issue over there. Okay, Bonnie, we'll go to you while they work through a technical issue.
Okay, thanks. So is there anything that someone can do, let's say commercial and then there's residential above, it could be a residential. Is there any kind, I mean, I don't know if there's any kind of fireproofing that they can do, like insulation fireproofing? I mean, you know, I've had a couple of people ask me that question. And would that resolve what needs to be done and then putting some kind of a smoke system in the apartment?
Another very good question. So again, it depends, again, what the occupancy is. So if you had a commercial on the first floor and a residential on the second, and there's a couple of those in town right now, and yes, you can have, sometimes they'll have the drop ceiling in a commercial building. Those have a certain fire rating, and then sometimes they can put insulation over that, and then the subflooring for before you get into the apartment, that might meet the code for the fire barrier. It really depends. We have to get in there and actually see what's existing so we can guide those people, the homeowner or business owner, what they need to do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I didn't mean to get into the weeds, but there we go. Thanks.
No problem. Great
Thanks.
questions. It's good education for the public.
Yeah.
I think I think these are all good things to. I don't know if a FAQ could be used on the page just for you know just to add, like, these things I think are great, stuff that probably most startup businesses or businesses moving in just don't know, and I think even just an FAQ be perfect for that. But we don't know what the FAQ should be. Just common questions you probably would get, Chief Alex.
Mr. Chair, that's a very good point, and we actually have an FAQ spot on our
Okay,
on our webpage, so maybe we could add some of these topics.
excellent.
It'd be really good.
Right. I know, Ellen, you is the issue over there.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I had a question with regard to how to make things maybe a little easier for businesses coming in. Do we have, or could we create flow charts of the processes that people would be going through for various purposes, whether it's permits or whatever? Have something that we can hand them for, this is the process of going about doing this, who to contact, phone numbers, and that type of thing?
I think if I could answer, I know, Joanne, you started a relocating your business flowchart type of thing. Is that something on the same
Yeah,
line?
we have, so I sent that to you in your packet. I also sent you the flow chart that we currently have on the planning's website regarding, more of the planning process if you do need to go to the planning board. A lot of the businesses that come in, if there's an existing building there, they don't necessarily need to go for a site plan approval, especially if they're not changing anything on the exterior of the site itself. If they're just doing internal renovations to the building, then that's handled basically with the building inspector and the fire inspector. Sometimes we'll have a technical review meeting in case there are other comments from other departments, so that the applicant is aware of what else they may need to know. But it varies so much depending on what the request is. That we have so many different requests for different types of uses, and depending on the building itself and the existing conditions of things. So it's really sort of it's either you need to go to the zoning board or the planning board, which is the one flow chart, or if there's an existing building and you need to, do certain things, meet with the TRC committee, things like that, that's the other flow chart that I provided to you. So it really kind of depends on what you're trying to focus on.
Thank you.
I can give you an example. The former Cumberland Farms on Main Street, that building, was a convenience store at one time. They are in the process of renovating the building. They're not making any changes to the exterior of the parking lot itself, other than striping and making some improvements with the pavement. So, and they're also looking to divide the building into 2 units versus 1 unit. We had a technical review committee with them and explained what was required, and they had questions for us. And now they're in the process of, well, they first went and got their building permits, whatever was required, and now they're in the process of renovating the building. They don't have a user yet or a tenant, but they'd like to get the building ready for when someone does become interested, it's ready to move in. So that's one example of the type of, process that we go through for a tenant or an owner going into an existing building. And those seem to be focused more so along the Village Main Street area for some reason, because those buildings tend to change hands more so, some of those smaller units. There are some in Pinardville, but there doesn't seem to be as much of a turnover currently.
Do we have any other questions for Chief Allard? Well, thank you very much, Chief, for coming with us. You're more than welcome to stay, or you can, enjoy your evening and doing whatever you want. So we thank you for your time.
Thank you, everyone, for having me.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on to Dr. Hutton, the Executive Director of the Goffstown Main Street Program.
This is Dr. Tracy Hutton. She has her doctorate degree in law and policy and has worked as a town administrator for New Hampshire and other states in New England. And we're thrilled to have her on board. So,
just a little bit of background on me so that everybody's kind of aware of where I'm coming from. Is I started in municipal government as a building inspector. I then became a city planner and was a town manager, town administrator for a number of years. So I have a lot of municipal background, so I know some of the difficulties that the EDC has with getting businesses and the difficulties that Joanne has with the permitting process sometimes. So I'm hoping to be kind of a intermediary between the businesses and the town to make sure that the businesses understand on Main Street what they need to do and why it's important, so that they won't give as much, so there'll just be a greater understanding of the process they have to go through and why. And sometimes they need to hear it from somebody other than just the town officials. And so hopefully I can help in that respect. I started a Facebook page this week for, the private page for the businesses in Goffstown. It's not just the Main Street businesses. We're letting any business who wants to join in so that they can have sort of discussions amongst themselves without everybody kind of looking at them, so that they can bounce ideas off each other and those sorts of things. It's visible to everybody. It's called Goffstown Main Street and More, but it is permission-only entry. So I sent out an email to all the Main Street businesses I had, and I've told them if they have other businesses. I knew a few other businesses in Goffstown, so just trying to get the word out if people want to find that page or email me to find that page. I'd be more than happy to let them in so that they can all benefit from each other's experiences. I think that's my intro.
Awesome. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Hutton?
Can you actually repeat that again, the website, the Facebook page? As I'm making phone calls to the local people in our town, and I'd love to be able to tell them about that.
Yeah, it's called Goffstown Main Street and More.
And is it the AND or is the ampersand?
AND.
Thank you.
And they can just send me an email too at the info@goffstownmainstreet.org, and I can find it for them.
I have a question. Is this a town website or is this just a private Facebook page between business? Or is
Say that again?
is this a town Facebook page or is
No.
it a, no, it's not,
It
just
is
a,
Goffstown Main Street Program page.
okay.
Joanne, would you mind sending that information out to us so that I don't write that fast? Sorry.
Sure, no problem.
Thanks.
I'll send it to
Tracy-
Joanne.
Tracy and I talked about this, and I told her this already, but I've discovered that as a municipality, we cannot have a private Facebook page. So Tracy's going to run the page, and if, later on the agenda, there's something about doing a business page through the town. I'm not sure where that's at the moment. John is going to be joining us a little late, so I'm hoping he has something to report.
So John will be joining us late, and I want to take all the blame for, John has put a lot of work into this, and he and I have been trying to connect so that I can take his efforts and then bring it back to the select board. So as Cam Newton would say, excuse basket is running low here. I will make sure that we meet next week. There was a lot of things happening this week. I'm not sure if you all heard, there was an election of some sort, something going on. So either way, I'll have more time next week to meet with John and get a real sense of what he's putting together, and then be able to bring that back to Derek first of all, and then to the select board. So John has been putting in a lot of effort, and I have been the one that has been holding everything back. My apologies.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions for Dr. Hutton?
And just so you know, I'm not super formal. You don't have to call me Dr. Hutton. You can just call me Tracy if it's more comfortable.
I worked in academia for like 10 years.
A while.
It's just part of what I do, so have to be formal.
I just don't want people to think that I'm, requiring people to be formal when they address me. Tracy is fine if you're more comfortable with that.
Okay.
Tracy, I will say this, just hearing about your background, I'm super hopeful and I'm super grateful that you're here. So definitely welcome to Goffstown and welcome to your new role. I'm pretty thrilled to see what you can do.
Thank you.
I agree, Tracy. Is that better? All right. And now I'm going to introduce potential board members. We'll start with Jeremy since he's first on the guest list. So if you just want to introduce yourself to us and tell us why you're interested in this committee, and then we can, move forward with recommendations to the select board.
Sure. Just do me a quick favor and let me know if you can hear me okay?
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So my name is Jeremy Jones. I've lived in Goffstown for quite a number of years. One of my first jobs after high school 24, 25 years ago, something like that, was cleaning the floors at Hannaford. Back then it was Shop and Save. I was coming from the Keene area where I had grown up through my teen years, and even at that, early adult age, I kind of fell in love with the town. And although I moved away for a couple of years after that, I came back, and we had a child here in town back in 2003, and have been here most of that time ever since. I've had the pleasure of living both in Bernardville and in a couple of places in the village before purchasing our home here on Wallace Road a few years ago. So we're members of the community, have been for quite a number of years. I've been a bit of a stealth member of the community for most of those years, just kind of living my life, raising my family, working my career, and running a couple of small businesses. But in recent years, schedules have opened up a little bit for me. My boy is now a graduating senior at Goffstown next year, so that opens up a lot more of my schedule as he's older and doesn't require daddy around quite so much anymore. So a couple of years ago, I started looking at what boards or committees I could start getting involved in. Made one pass at budget committee, was not accepted onto that, and kind of laid low again for a couple of years. And then I just realized this might be the time and might be the right opportunity for me to step in and be able to contribute some of my background, which is, the majority of the last 20 something years I've spent in industrial manufacturing. Most of those years have been in production management positions. But again, I have also successfully run a couple of different businesses on the side as well from my homes here in Goffstown. So, I have experience both managing operations, but also knowing what it's like to be a small business owner and understanding the need for resources, the need for the sort of support that only small businesses seem to not be able to get in a lot of different ways. So it all just goes into, me thinking, okay, I might have a little bit of background here where I can maybe contribute to the economic development of the town. And that goes to my fundamental belief that everything that happens in this town is directly linked to the financial and economic stability and viability of this town. So I want to see us grow. Like many property owners here in town, I am not a fan of huge property taxes, and I know that the best way to offset that is with a solid business base. And I'd like to see that get developed a little bit more in town, a little bit more strategically, but definitely a little bit more. So if there's any way that I can contribute to that process. The last thing I will say is that I heard a couple of comments earlier about social marketing and things of that nature. That is one area that I have an extensive amount of experience, and what I like to believe is a high level of strength in is social marketing. So that is an area that I can also contribute to the board and to the town, if those kind of efforts were needed. So that's me.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That was awesome. Anybody have any questions for Jeremy?
You want a motion to send it on for acceptance?
I was going to do, we can batch it between Charlie
Them
and.
all together? Okay.
Yeah.
right.
That way we less rolls. Charlie, the floor is yours.
Hi all, so I am Charlie Birchmeyer. I have lived in Goffstown for 5 years. My background is pretty much, my first job was working in a public library, and I've worked in the nonprofit field since then. So I've, over a little over 20 years working in the nonprofit sector. And since coming to New Hampshire, I've done a lot with employment. So I ran the employment services for Moore Center. I was senior manager of employment services for about 8 years. And then since then have started working for Operation Able, and I cover Hillsborough and Rockingham County for the Senior Community Service Employment Program, which is a program that works with low-income seniors that are trying to get back into the workforce. And I am here because I recently went through a very frustrating situation with an intersection by my house that I got Chet involved in. And there was a little bit of, once I tried to get other people involved, like it was kind of like, oh, you're going to spearhead this. And then when I tried to get other people involved and they were like, whoa, wait, you want me to do something? All of a sudden I kind of hit a roadblock. And I decided that I didn't want to do that same thing, that I wanted to be involved. And Chet kind of recommended that this might be a spot that I could start. So I've worked with Chet a little bit in the past. My wife worked with Greg. We know each other socially. We haven't really worked together in the past.
But she also worked with Chet too.
What's that?
She also worked with Chet too.
Yes, yeah. So I'm here just because that's something like I want to learn. I want to know how to get involved. I want to be involved. Like I said, my family's only been here for 5 years, but we have no intention of leaving Goffstown. I have a 4-year-old that I plan on raising in the house that I'm in now. And this is kind of just a stepping point of some sort that I just, I want to be involved in. This is how I'm trying to start.
Thank you, Chad. I think when this is a volunteer committee and we're really putting our time in to try to improve the community, I think we all feel the same way. This is something we want to do to give back and to start somewhere. So, do I have a motion to recommend Jeremy Jones? Oh, go ahead.
Before you do that, I just wanted to let you know that there's one vacant regular member. The terms from 2018 to 2021, and then there are 2 vacant alternate members, and that's the same term, 2018 to 2021. So whoever goes into these positions will need to do this again in March to reappoint them. But I just wanted to point out, you need to choose who wants to do the full-time member and who wants to do the alternate.
So Joanne, if I can just jump in for a second so that both of Jeremy and Charlie understand what that means. So and if I'm insulting you and you already know this, I'm sorry, but really an alternate on a committee is fully available and fully allowed to contribute to the conversation. It's the hope is that everyone's there every meeting. And of course, alternate by definition, if a full member is not there, you would vote. But the alternate always has contributions to make. They're always considered before a vote. So the only real difference is that if everyone's there, the alternate does not vote in that particular meeting. That's the only difference.
I was an alternate a year ago, so
now you're chair.
Now I'm chair. So we move quick. Bonnie, did you have a question, Bonnie?
And I got demoted down to alternate.
No, you did not. And just because there's 2 new members doesn't mean you get to leave, Mark. Don't forget that.
So I guess it's up to you two to figure out which one wants to be an alternate, which one wants to be
I mean, if I could speak first, I'm personally comfortable with either. My main goal coming into this is to learn and to kind of figure out how I can be involved. So, I mean, Jeremy, I know that you had said that you've been in this town for a very long time, that your kid is a senior in high school, and that, if you feel like you as a voting member, because you've been here longer, I'm okay with that. I'm also 100% comfortable with taking on the role. I really could step into either role and be totally comfortable.
Yeah, understood, Charlie. Sorry. I was just going to say, as far as that goes, the first thing I'll say, Charlie, right off the bat is I don't look at length of years in town as any kind of seniority or anything like that. Like I know a lot of people do. I recognize right off that I'm not a townie, born and raised here, but I do the best I can. I will say in my current professional role, I work with unmanned aviation systems, mostly for Department of Defense and government clients. So there's going to be some times when I will be shipping off to places other than New Hampshire. So it's actually kind of interesting because I'm thinking it may work better for me to be the alternate and have you be the full-time if you're comfortable with that.
I'm very comfortable with that. Yeah, I just didn't want to.
Nope, that's fine. That'll make it a little bit more fair to the board as well.
Sure.
That's easy. I don't have to throw a boxing gloves in the
Yeah. You were hoping for a cage match. I know.
I was like, oh baby. All right, so I'm gonna make the motion to have Charlie as full member and Jeremy as alternate member. Do I have a second of that motion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Did Bonnie make that motion?
Oh, Bonnie did make that motion.
I
Okay.
thought so. Okay, just
Yes,
checking.
I did make that motion.
Okay. My bad. I second that motion. Joanne?
Okay, so Charlie as the regular and
Yeah.
Jeremy as the alternate.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
will pass that along to the select board for their next meeting.
What's your vote? Do you vote yes?
Yeah. Do you vote yes? That's what I was calling roll.
I have a question first.
Okay, go ahead, Bonnie.
As chair of the committee, can you second the motion?
I believe so. I'm voting, right?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
I don't think you can write. Am I right, Ellen? Am I right?
He can make or second the motion, but he can vote.
Right, exactly. So someone else will have to second the motion.
I will.
Okay, and then I have one question before we vote. Is Mark Stevens an alternate by choice?
Yes.
All right, I just want to make sure.
I might have to vote on this, right?
Yeah, you do. Actually, you do.
You're a voting member today, yeah.
All right,
Okay.
does someone else second it? Ellen did?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
Ellen seconded it. Yeah, all right. So Ellen and then Joanne,
Yes.
Chet,
Yes.
Mark.
Yes.
I also say yes. Motion carries. So now it's with the select board right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you very much. You're more than welcome to stay. You're more than welcome to go. It's up to you.
Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you for taking some time. So old and new business. Chet, you're gonna select goals are gonna be put on hold. You don't have any updates on that, right?
Yeah, the only thing that I would like to say is that with COVID, all the original goals have changed somewhat, but I would like to just say that in my brain is not the only one that counts by a long shot. This committee, we have a couple of things we're trying to do overall, which is one, support the current businesses that are here, and then the second part is sort of two-parted. One, attract new businesses and hopefully attract businesses that will serve the residents of Goffstown in the best way possible, with the goal of bringing in businesses that serve the residents of Goffstown and also creating a corporate tax base so that we're not faced as a select board with looking at having to cut essential services or pass on increase in taxes to the residents. And I am looking at right now shifting my energies, given that COVID has sort of thrown a curveball in the sector by sector approach that we were trying to take, shifting my energies into looking at the efficacy of this committee in actually promoting economic development over the past 10 years or so. And I've looked at some research, and I believe that one of the recommendations, or not a recommendation, sorry, I'm looking at whether or not it makes sense to make a recommendation to have a larger role for an economic development person, professional in the town. Joanne, I know that you would never say it publicly, and I don't want to speak for you, but I will say you have a loaded plate. And I think that it's never become more clear than when we have a number of great people on the board who are looking to do some great things. Bonnie, thank you so much for the time and effort you have put into making all those phone calls. That's been incredible. I think we have some momentum now, so I'm really going to look into whether or not it makes sense to make a formal recommendation to look at an economic development person, a professional in the town that can take the ideas of this board, such as a checklist and such as going business to business, and actually find the time to do it. Joanne, you've done a great job doing what you can do, but you have a double role, and it's a very significant double role that you're playing. So what I'd like to do is bring everyone to the table, have a discussion about this committee's efficacy over time, and then, of course, have the real hard conversation, which is, if we have not done the things that we have planned to do, why? What are the barriers and how do we break those down? Real tough conversations, a lot more than just the people on this council involved in those conversations, but that's my next step. So, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say that I'm really sort of transitioning because of COVID our original goals for this year over into taking a real look at that piece. Joanne, do you have any objections to that? I really want to make sure that you're okay with it.
No.
Okay, great. So there we are. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Chet. Any questions for Chet? Bonnie, I should just say, does Bonnie have a question? I think I'm just gonna start
Sorry,
that.
how can we help you with that, Chet? What can we do to help you?
Yep. So right now, I'm trying to find the best comparisons, and it's tough to figure out. Did we look at us versus another town? I don't think that's necessarily fair. So right now, I'm just going to let it marinate for a little bit, and then what I think I'll do is I'll come back. If you can all think about this, maybe, and then I'll come back to the next meeting, hopefully with some data. And data was supplied to me, which I'm really happy for. And then once I really look at that, I'll come back with what I think needs to happen. And then if you can just think about some ideas that you might have and whether or not it makes sense to put some more focus on economic development director, let's say, and that will be a cost. And that's a very important factor in our decision as a council to what we recommend. So just thinking about that for now, Bonnie, but thank you for the question.
Greg, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Make a comment? Chet, if you need somebody to bounce ideas off of in terms of that, I'd be more than willing to help in terms of how it benefits Main Street businesses, because I've been in that role and I've been the person who's hired that role. So if you just want to kind of steal some ideas off me, I'm here quite a bit. So just let me know.
I would more than appreciate that. So we'll connect offline. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
New Hampshire Small Business Development Center 2020 Business Resiliency Survey.
Before we move on to that, I believe we skipped over the minutes. If you want to bounce back.
Oh, yes, that's true. My bad. Do we have any correction of the minutes from our meeting on 10/7? All right. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from 10/7?
Oh, sure, I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bonnie. Do I have a second of that motion?
I'll second.
Who seconded? I'm sorry, Joanne.
Joanne.
So, Chet,
Yes.
Mark.
I was not present. I abstain.
Okay. Ellen.
I abstain. I was not present.
All right. I don't think we have enough votes. Is that considered
An abstention counts as part of the quorum, so that's fine.
Okay, and I accept. I accept the minutes as well. So the motion carries. Okay, and then now we're going back to item number 3, New Hampshire Small Business Development Center 2020 Business Resiliency Survey.
So I copied. Wait, let me start from the beginning here. So a few months ago, University of New Hampshire did a survey of small businesses in the area to find out what sort of issues they were having once COVID had appeared and messed things up for everyone. I didn't copy the entire report, but I did copy the executive summary. And it seems like, just reading through it, that these businesses, even though they're dispersed across the state, they seem to be having the same issues that the businesses in Goffstown are having. Finances, having to lay off employees, things like that. So I think, this kind of gives an overall view of businesses in general and what sort of issues they're having. The ones that were most affected, as everyone knows, is the hospitality areas, including the restaurants, hotels, things like that. And they're still struggling now with the colder weather coming, or here actually. So if you just wanted to take a look at it, and if you're interested in reading the full report, just send me an email and I will send it out to you.
Thank you very much.
It did mention the payroll protection program was by far the most utilized, which is a big help to certain people. But, there was only that one flow of the money, and now everything has dried up due to the election. So I think everyone's hoping that there may be some more money coming down the pike from the federal government at some point in time.
Sorry, my daughter. Sorry, my daughter walked into the room. Okay. Any questions for Joanne regarding the survey? I'm sure it's just an FYI. We can all take a look.
Yes.
All right. Bonnie, you're good? Okay. All right. Ed Sat recommendations. I gotta be honest, I don't know what that is.
So a few years ago when Derek was in my position, he had done a study. He worked with a group out of Boston. Just trying to find my copy here. And they did a study of Goffstown, which was called the EdStat study, which came up with recommendations for the town at that time. About a year or so ago, we took a look at those recommendations in the board. I believe it's in your goals. It is included in your goals. So the study was done by Northeastern University, the Dukakis Center for Urban and Regional Planning. This was back in the 2000, I think this was included in the 2019 and the 2020 goals. And these were the things that they had recommended that for the town take a look at. Some of these things I think were geared, like number one, I believe was geared towards the select board, not entirely the EDC. But if you take a look at these things, we've been including it on the agenda from time to time, but never really taken a piece of it and tried to actually go through and make these things happen. So if you want to take a look and see if there's anything as a board that you may be interested in working on.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Chet.
Sorry, really quickly, Bonnie, and I hesitate to say this because I know how much work was put into that. But I recall, and I can't remember if you were here yet, Bonnie, when we started having this conversation, but the study was so comprehensive, and Goffstown has such a unique profile as it relates to economic development and sort of like the what I always call generational sustainability and some unique challenges we have, that I believe there was a conversation, an active conversation about tabling that for a while, coming up with, 3 really sort of, these are the goals that we can truly look at, which is I think where we were about 6-7 months ago before COVID. And then once we were able to see that we could, reach a couple of destinations within those goals, then maybe we might come back to that at some point. But were you here yet, though? I know Bonnie, I don't know if Bonnie was here. Joanne, were you in yet at that point when we had that conversation?
I think I was. And
okay.
Charlie then veered away from this to do the business, I'd call it the business visitation, where he was getting the
that's right
from the businesses, and then that fell off as well.
Yep. Go ahead, Bonnie. Sorry.
Sorry. Is there any way you can send that out to all of us? We now have 2 new members. And if you could send that out to us so that we could look at it, review it, and maybe have a discussion at one of our meetings after we've done that, that would be great.
The actual report?
The report and any follow-up or anything that would help us understand the history of that whole thing.
Sure.
That'd be great. I mean,
okay.
It makes sense to me.
That's a good idea.
Mr. Chair, real quick, not to change the subject, but I just wanted to ask a formal question. We're bringing in 2 new members, assuming the board okays it, which I believe they will. Joanne, I know Tim will return once we meet in person. Did Steve Langley formally resign, or is he just not?
No, he said the same thing as Tim did. He'll come back once we start meeting in person again.
I see. So he's still interested, just wants, okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you for answering that.
You're welcome.
All right. Facebook page, I think we're going to table that for the next meeting.
Yeah, John's not here yet.
Yeah, he texted me, he said he wasn't going to be able to make it.
Okay.
Starting a new business. I think we touched upon that when we're talking to Chief Allard, and what Joanne has on the page. So I think we can. Does anybody want to have any add to that?
I was just looking for feedback on the page that I sent you titled Relocating Your Business to Goffstown. If you're okay with it, we will place it on the town website under Economic Development and probably Planning Department. The other page that's titled Business Occupancy Checklist, that's the form we currently use. And the applicant, if they come in and they would like to start a business, build a new building, anything of the sort, maybe even do a subdivision, they start with this form, and we hold a meeting with staff and we review everything with them with their conceptual plan. And this is like the beginning of what we do. And then we have our checklist included in that for the businesses. So this is what we're currently using. We've been using this for quite a while. And this is on the website as well. And then the other page, which is entitled Formal Application Submission, that's the flow chart that I was speaking of. If you have a project, you go to technical review, and then it's decided whether you need to go to the planning board or not. And if you do, this is the process below.
Yeah.
So that's what we're currently following.
Can people mute their phones? You don't have a question.
Yeah, Ellen here. May I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay. We have, that I'm aware of, 5 vacant storefronts along Main Street. Is it possible for the town to, or maybe through the new Facebook page, advertise and try and recruit businesses, say what the spaces are, who their realtors are, what size they are, things like that, that could send out information to potential tenants as businesses? Is there something we can do that way?
I hesitate to do that because I think it would be advertising for the real estate agents. That would be my concern with that. That would be my hang up.
How do we get businesses to come here?
How do we get businesses to come here? Go ahead, Chet.
So, Ellen, I think that's great. And I hear what Greg is saying loud and clear. Plus, we would have to come up with some sort of formal partnership with the owners of those buildings, which wouldn't be the role of this council. But I do think there's a middle ground where we could absolutely say we have a number of well-placed businesses, and just say a raw number. We've got 5 incredibly well-placed businesses where traffic, we could do I don't even think we need to do a traffic study. We probably already have the data where, X amount of cars are passing through at this time of the day. The median age in Goffstown is 43 years old. You have a huge customer base here. I think we could certainly do something like that. I think that would make a lot of sense.
So about just doing that.
So that's where Jonathan comes in, and that's my fault, Ellen. When Jonathan and I actually get a chance to meet and talk, that I can bring the idea of being able to post things like this and have some sort of Facebook social media presence even beyond Facebook. I bring that to the select board and talk about increasing our efficiency as a council, but we still need some approvals from select board, et cetera, to get there. But yes, that's exactly how we do it. It's a great idea, Ellen.
We have many of those items on the town's website. The problem is that, not where it's Facebook and other items, other areas of social media, it pushes out to people. The Facebook, the website, people have to go and seek the information. So it's much more effective on things like Instagram, Facebook, things like that, where it's being pushed out to the people versus the opposite.
Bonnie?
I don't want to have a conflict of interest. Is it okay for us to post something maybe as a resident on some of the Facebook pages that are out there? Next door neighbor, why can't we as individuals do that? Would that be okay? I see Chet shaking his head.
Yeah, no, you are an American and you are free as a resident to post whatever you'd like. It's a
Yeah.
great question, but you're not, being on this council does not preclude you from speaking your mind or advertising things that you think make sense outside of it. It happens, people that work for businesses will constantly post positions at their business and say, hey, looking for a job? 100% okay.
That'd be
Right.
great. So if we can have that information maybe sent over to us, I would be more than happy to go on some of the sites that I'm on. I'm sure Ellen would too, and everybody. Thank
Yep.
you.
So can I ask, with those 5 vacancies on Main Street, what type of businesses we're trying to promote to?
Well, they're limited, depending on the use, because I don't know which buildings Ellen's referring to, but I'm assuming most of them are small, with the exception of maybe the old Cumberland Farms building. Ellen, can you be more specific with the?
Yeah, well, the old Cumberland Farms is gonna be broken up into 2, so I don't know how big that is. We have House that's vacant. There's the one, in the building across the street from where Main Street is now, that has 2 sides to it. And, the one as you look at the building on the right, I think it's still available, has a sign on it. And then there's one, just a little bit down Elm Street, as you go down, it's on the left.
Mm-hmm. I know where you mean.
Be there or something.
The old, the bar
Maroon.
business.
And I don't know what size. Those are the 5 that I'm aware of that are available and open here in the village area.
Okay, I'm just trying to get a semblance of what,
So the
what's
use
open.
in those types of buildings, the use would be, retail type, maybe office. Some offices could go in there. It's a village commercial district, so there's a list of available uses that are allowed.
Okay.
And it's more like office retail sort of space.
And
All right, thank you.
Service oriented.
Yeah.
Bonnie?
The only thing that I would say to this is we don't know what the landlord is charging for rent, and it might be cost prohibitive for someone to come in. That might be the issue. So maybe we should do a little research. When I say we, maybe I can do some research to find out, what that is, and bring it back next time. Do you know what it is, Joanne?
No, but what I was going to say is if you look up the regular retail, not retail, I can't
Commercial, yeah.
Commercial real estate websites.
Yep.
Lots of those places don't show up. I don't know if they're not in the MLS or if they're being marketed by the owner themselves and they don't have a realtor. But it seems like every time I go on the commercial sites, it's the same places almost every time. Not 1 or 2 may change, but there's not much of a difference.
Well, I would be happy to call and find that information from the ones that we know, the signs, et cetera. I would be happy to do that because I think it's important information. If it's cost prohibitive, then that's why we're not getting businesses in. And we're also in a pandemic where people aren't spending money to do that because they're working at home. So there's a catch-22 there. Okay.
All right.
So I just need a consensus about posting the relocating your business to Goffstown on the town's website.
You need a vote on that or just?
I think just consensus is fine.
I'm good.
Any
I'm fine with that.
just speak up.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
All right. I just think in the interest of time, let's just try to get through these past last items. Contact list. We have an update on contact list. Joanne?
That was Bonnie was working on
okay.
that.
Okay.
Sure
I'm
where
sorry.
Yeah, I can tell you really quickly, Joanne, thank you so much for printing everything off. She was so sweet to print everything off. So now I have phone numbers and et cetera. And I've been starting to make calls, and unfortunately we're past the October 31st where the deadline was, but that's okay. I've called 5 businesses and exactly what Joanne said, financial, getting help, because a lot of people are getting unemployment and it's not worth their while to go to work. So they're having a hard time getting help. So, I think that those are some of the problems that our businesses are having as well as what's going on in the state. So I'll just keep making calls and let them know we're here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bonnie.
And the last item is strong towns. I don't know if you remember, but last year, the AARP, I'm sorry, my puppy's in the background playing with a squeaker toy.
I thought it was a baby.
Last year, we made arrangements with AARP to bring in a group called Strong Towns to have a not really a whole town-wide event, but to get more narrow as far as specific people that we would invite and discuss various issues. And at that time, we were focusing on Pinardville. But now, because of the pandemic, they can't do person to person. And they have decided that they still want to go through with it, so they're going to do it virtually. And the date that has been set is December 3rd, which is the night after your next EDC meeting. It's at 6 o'clock. You'll all be notified, previously, and you'll get invitations to this. They're going to be talking about how we can bring the town back to the business, not the town itself, but the businesses back to being on level ground starting the spring, and what we can do to help them and that sort of thing. So Strong Towns has done this with many other towns throughout the country. They're very experienced, and it's all free for us because AARP is paying for it. So that's a positive news. The other thing I wanted to ask you was, we have a contract with UNH Cooperative Extension to do the meetings with the businesses in Pinardville, the roundtable meetings. And the contract, if we don't spend the money by the end of the year, December, we will need to send the money back to the general fund. So I talked to Derek about it, and he said as long as we have a new contract or an extension of the contract, that we can continue with this project. If it's not held by the end of the year, we can certainly go forward in the spring when things are better. Hopefully by then they will be. So I just wanted to get your approval to go ahead and start that process with UNH Cooperative Extension.
Yes.
Okay.
Sir, do you need? Okay.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right. I think that's it for the meeting. Next meeting is December 2nd, 2020. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Do I second? Bonnie
Second.
seconded. All right. Mark seconded. All right. Bonnie? Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm calling roll. I just adjourning. Okay. All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you for the new members. And we
Everybody
look
have a
forward to-
great holiday for Thanksgiving.
All
Yes.
right.
Very true.
Yes.
All right.